Welcome to First and Goal, where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Get ready for the latest and hottest topics in the SML. Let's get started. Here's your host, Mad Bomber.
What's going on, SML? We're back. First and Goal. A new, we got a division edition here. So we've got the AFC East, the current Weenie Huts. I think you guys have probably a little bit of competition for that title, but it seems to be what everybody's going with right now. So let's get started. We'll start with you, Eddie, fresh off your win against Slice. Sure he remembers that.
He remembers the last two because they were within like 3 days of each other, so it's all right.
So we'll start with you. And we'll start SML wide, and then we're gonna get down to some AFC East discussion. But first things first, QP he's over 700 win percentage career. I think he's got like 4-5 Simbardis. He just had a 4-13 season. What's worse for him, if he really was 4-13, or if he was tanking and ended up with 4-13?
I think it's tanking for sure. I think a guy like that is known to at least have a positive winning percentage in the league, to go out there and tank to try to get himself in a position to win again is just unfortunate for him. I think that looks really bad. Obviously, he always fights it in chat and he says, "Oh, I was trying my hardest. I just came up just short." You know what I mean? I think all that's BS. I think most of us know that he was tanking and he was going through it and he was just trying to get himself in a spot to get a good pick and go into the final season or into this season here and actually start off well. He's 6-0 right now. So the fact that he was 4-13 last year, I think is kind of BS. And yeah, I think tanking for him looks way worse than having a true 4-13 season.
All right, DW, you've been around to see QP's highs and now his lowest of lows that majority of the league probably hasn't even achieved those lows. What do you think is the worst look for him?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody spent the time to listen to SMLTA this weekend, but Matt already went on about a 5-minute rant on there about every single thing the QP did that was tanking. And I mean, it sounds like he was definitely tanking. And not to piggyback off Eddie here, but I 100% agree. I don't think tanking's a good look for anybody. I know I joke about it, but let's be honest here. Every season I tank, I suck. So, I think for guys like him, he's got such a really like rich history here of Simbardis and everything else and domination and always making plays. I just don't think a guy like that should ever be tanking. In my personal opinion, I think that it's going to be really hard to wipe that or make that go away, because it's going to be talked about for a while now. But I also understand, man. If he took over a team that really, I guess, wasn't his from the beginning, and the whole Mahomes thing, and then maybe he just tanked because he needed a quarterback. I don't know. I haven't been in chat a whole lot recently, so I'm not 100% sure with all that. But I mean, just to sum this all up, and because I'm just rambling here, I think tanking is just a really bad look for him and anybody who was a previous Simbardi winner here. If they're ever caught tanking, I just think it's a really bad look.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll go to you, Trick. What do you think?
No, absolutely, it's tanking. His reputation of being a top member. He's one of the top dogs in the SML. Unless he's just checked out and he was moving and was working 17 hours a day, and which I don't believe he was doing any of those. How are you a perennial playoff contender and then go 4-13? And even if you do go in 14, that's a shitty job at tanking because you're not getting a top 3, maybe even top 5 pick with some of the guys in this league. It was bad on QP and just don't do it anymore, dude.
All right. Slice, what do you think?
All right, so I'll start off. I think both look bad. I used to be very anti-tanking. I think over the years I've softened my stance on that. I'm not mad when someone tanks. I think does look bad on him as someone who's historically been great, one of the most Simbardi winning users. Yes, but for me personally, if I'm Q, I'd much rather look bad tanking. At least then it's an active choice than just passively sucking. Like imagine trying hard and only winning 4 games. And I did that, second season? I think I only won 6. Little embarrassing. And I would much rather be called a tanker for 4, 5, 6 wins. Bad tank job. But I would much rather be called a bad tanker than just playing bad when everybody knows you're up here and you're trying and now you're playing down here. So I'm going to go upstream and say I think actively trying and only winning 4 looks worse.
Okay. And yeah,
I think I just came up with my new PSN name, Bad Tanker.
There you go. For what it's worth, I don't think he tanked for a draft pick. I think it was kind of what Matt brought up. I think it was a lot of pouting. We see QP do that pretty frequently when he starts losing. He disappears from chat, and he got his suspension and then the injury of the quarterback, and I think he just wrote the season off. I don't think it was for a pick necessarily, but I definitely don't think he was trying to win. I mean, you look, he would get all upset when Prime would say that he was doing bad this cycle. He'd bring up that he went to a AFC Championship game in his first season back. All of a sudden, he forgets about that when he goes 4-13. So, I think it's not so much for a pick, but definitely wasn't giving it an effort. All right, so topic 2, and we'll go to we'll start with Eddie, or we'll start with the DW on this one. So speaking of top 5 picks. We've seen a lot of people complaining, and I think it was last season or maybe the season prior, where the top 5 picks didn't even belong to the top or the bottom 5 guys. They'd all moved their picks, and they all ended up going to playoff teams. So why aren't those same guys making those trips? Why are the top 5 picks always going to the better teams and not to even like a middle team or some of these guys that are complaining that they're going to the top players?
You know what? I think I'm going to go a different route than what you expect me to say here. And what I'm going to say is I think that the actual best traders in this league are also some of the best players. So a lot of those guys that know how to manipulate low-hanging fruit like myself and talk. Of course, I made my trade with Prime. Everybody hated it. I love it. If you look at the guy now, he's a monster. Not to bring this about myself, but I believe that, man, I lost my train of thought. Hold on a second here. We'll get this back. We're gonna get this back. I just think that the best traders in the league are the top guys, and I think that they know how to make trades and they know what guys to go after to get those picks and to get those top picks. Now, I think that draft was 2 years ago. I think, or not 2, but 2 seasons ago when we had that, and I think everybody in the top 10 except for like 2 people had the original picks. I really don't know how to answer this question in the best way, but I just think that some of the best traders in the leagues are also the best players, and that just they happen to get those picks. And I'm going to stay with that.
Trick, what do you think?
I think, the top teams are getting the top 5 picks. With that, I think comes the top teams have better players typically, and with those better players, you can get better value, and they know what owners to target that are perennial top 5 picks. I tried to take advantage of not nice, and then he ended up going to the playoffs and snuck in at 8 and 9 with
I was going to say, to be fair, he still was under 500.
Yeah, no, he was. And then the NFC is just that bad. But he came to me with that trade. I didn't go in trying to take advantage of them. He kind of set himself up for it. But that same season I tried to push to get one of those top 3 picks too in this last draft, and all those guys were standing firm. So I think some of it too might be some of that older users that were just trying to go for the flashy thing in the draft, and now some of those guys aren't here, and we got a couple SML vets back in those spots that are taking those top picks. So I think it kind of goes back to top 5 guys have as DW said, they're better players, better owners, but they also have better value to trade to get those higher picks.
Okay, makes sense. Slice, what about you? I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I think that's a valuable point that these users who are getting top picks have some of the top teams. I think they're consistently known as some of the best team builders, both with the talent they have, but also building young guys. I think a good point to bring up too is There are also guys who aren't afraid to lose some of these like top tier players for fear of younger guys or developmental players starting at a lower threshold or lacking a superstar dev or even being like, hey, this guy's actually going to be on the bench for a year developing. I don't need him now because I'm a top tier guy who's winning by scheme and skill rather than team. Whereas I'm someone who likes to trade picks, especially first and second round, but I have very strict criteria for when I do. And I think some guys who are in that top 5, top 10 are just like, hey, maybe if I do get this X Factor stud, I have the money for him. That's going to be more of a game changer than this young guy I might draft besides the 99 speed elite wide receiver. So I think it goes into the scheme versus team building. And I think DW mentioned it good. I think there's guys who know which buttons to push, which guys to hit up. Like, okay, I don't need this tight end or this DB, but I know one of these top 5 guys is going to salivate over him. He's got the physical stats, he's got the development trait. Maybe he has like one ability. I saw a linebacker. I think Fig traded a first for a linebacker with either mid zone or pick artist. 2 great abilities. I don't blame him for that one, but if I'm Fig, I'm probably holding on to my first round picks, for example. So I think there's a lot of things that go into both interpersonal connections and team building versus scheme.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, bringing up Fig again, you throw him a 97 speed receiver, you're probably going to be able to get whatever you want. So free tip out there for everybody that somehow didn't know it. Eddie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a culmination of a few things, and we've kind of mentioned it already, but I think two things. I think those guys that are the top players are more willing to trade. I think they're also just in the market more often than everybody else is. Generally, whether it be cap reasons, they need to offload some guys, get some picks in, clear up some cap, or it's just the fact that what Slice just said, they are good at developing young players. They know how to use them. They know how the scheme works. They know all their attributes. They know how they want to develop them. So they get to develop those guys fairly quickly and easily. So an X Factor guy to them doesn't really mean much when they can just develop a guy that's going to be an X Factor next and save a ton of money without having to pay them too. So I think it has more to do with just those guys who are more savvy with cap and understanding how to develop players than it is anything else. Because if you look at all the guys who've traded for top 5 picks that have developed their teams, they're all some of the best users in the league. Like Bomber, for you for example, you're always trading in as best you can top 5, top 10. You're getting rid of some of your X Factor guys, but obviously you know how to develop those guys. You know how to use them, and you know how to get them to be just as good, if not better, than the guy you traded away while not losing any production. So I think it just has more so to do with that than anything else. I think the people that complain, I get the complaints and I understand the complaints because every once in a while I'll look at it and I'm like, that trade's kind of stupid. I don't really agree with it. It's dumb. But you probably could have gotten the same deal for something similar as well if you would have tried. So.
All right, and maybe I didn't articulate the question well enough, but that was kind of what I was going after. Was why are those guys like your Sodas and
Oh, I gotcha.
maybe Damon?
I misread that.
Why are those guys not making those trades? But and I think it's kind of what you guys have all kind of alluded to is, you know, if you're winning already, you can afford to let a couple guys go and pick up something different, and you'll develop somebody better into it. And I think maybe what it is those guys are afraid to kind of give up the good players for the pick. They're, you know, you don't want to let go of that X factor, whatever, because you're not sure you're going to get another one. But some of the guys that make those trades don't need another one. They'll just go with what they got. All right.
Bomber.
Yeah.
Hey, Bomber, real quick. I know that you're not on the spotlight and you're not on camera or anything like that, but as being a top 5 cycle player this year, and you're always a team builder, why do you make those trades?
Because I'd rather have the guy that I'm going to have for 4 more years without giving him a big deal. I can go get
that freeze
secrets away.
Yeah, I'll get a corner that I can keep for 4 years. Especially, what are we in? We're in season 7 now. So seasons 6, 7, 8, and 9. Anybody I draft going into 6, I don't have to re-sign him. That's a rookie deal the rest of the cycle. So if I got to give up, you know, let's say I give up Mike Hall, who's a 93 overall defensive tackle that's X Factor. I don't really care because I'm getting a first round pick that I'm never going to have to re-sign instead of that $25 million a year contract that Hall's going to get from Not Nice.
I will say that's the same reason why I got rid of my D tackle with AJ. He was up to pay. I didn't have the money to pay him. I was like, I might as well get a first round pick from him. I get 3 years to develop a guy until we end after the draft and don't have to pay him.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to the
Yep.
position too. Middle linebacker, super expensive. Defensive tackle, super expensive. Those are two positions. Like defensive tackle, I feel like you could use anybody. It just feels like you're loaded there. I mean, I signed 87 Javon Dexter in free agency after I traded Hall, who's a 93. The only difference was he was an X factor. So that was a no brainer. 5 million or 25 million, and then middle linebacker. I use the middle linebacker. I don't care if he's, whatever, as long as he's fast and can move. So you got like Fig gave me a first for JOK. That's fine. I'll use Swessinger now. He's an X factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thinking going into it. All right. Topic 3. We'll start with Trick. And this is the last one before we hit the AFC East. But Matt called his shot. He said, I'm the only one who can beat Prime, whatever. And he went out and did it. My question to you is, how is it possible that he can go out and beat Prime, but he is absolute dog shit against everybody else?
I think his game versus Prime means a little more. I think their relationship that they have, and Matt, I think, respects that and plays better. Not saying he doesn't disrespect anybody in the league, but I think this Madden specifically, and maybe towards the end of last Madden, Matt's just kind of sailed it in and just is trying to play games as fast as he can. So he's still here and still playing, but looking forward to next Madden already. I think maybe outside of season 1, because I don't remember this cycle, I could count on both hands how many times Matt's run a shotgun play. Everything is under center. Everything is eye strong, ace back. Granted, he's found a way to play that way, but I think when he comes out Prime, he can play that way and then lock in and knows what Prime does, what Prime likes to do. And that could, just come from you watching a lot of his games, talking with him a lot. And yeah, that's kind of my opinion on it.
Okay. They did share a division too. Matt was the Jags and Prime was the Colts. So that there is a little bit of familiarity there. Slice, what do you think?
I think this is a perfect example of why matchups matter so much. And I've said this about my own division. I think all of them match up pretty well. I've lost to each of them multiple times. But I think it goes into, Matt knows Prime. He kind of has that level of respect, that rapport, that camaraderie where he's like, all right, time to lock in. But I just think he's a good matchup for Prime. I think because he plays so differently and we know he's going against Stream on purpose. Love Matt, but accepting him for the troll he is. He plays a very specific ball for a very specific reason, and it's to get those games quick and be the antithesis of anything considered spammy or sweaty. And so I think that just matches up well against Prime. It makes Prime get creative on defense. I think he has to, he can know what's coming. And because Matt does it so much, it's almost like the back of his hand where he knows what's going on. He knows what holes to hit, even though it's mostly up the center. And I just think it's a great example of just a match made in heaven for Matt, because who else is he playing that consistently and kind of gung-ho, if you will? They're fun games to watch. I don't think Matt changes up anything drastically at all. He still stays true to his Madden 26 self, but the magic works. And if the magic works, don't change it against the elites like Prime.
Okay. Eddie, what do you think? The stuff he kind of mentioned would make you think if it's true, then Matt should have success against everybody if he can have success against Prime. If he's so good at running what he runs. But for whatever reason, he can barely beat Tiny, can't beat AJ. He's won the division every year since the first season. Why is it he does good the first season with his stacked team and then he's irrelevant the rest of the cycle?
I just don't think he's trying. I just don't genuinely think he tries. I understand his whole philosophy around running the offense that he runs and not being cheesy or corny. But I almost look at that as bad as looking at someone who in CFM or in and Mutt runs like all the cheesy stuff, and it's so bad to the opposite side of the coin that it's just as bad, in my opinion. Um, I just don't think he tries at all. And I've had this conversation with Damon before too. I think if Matt actually were to sit down and run a real offense and like actually try, he'd be top 5 in the cycle. We all know that his defense is phenomenal, and he like barely does anything right now. He's known for his defense. He has low numbers. He's been top 5 all cycle. Granted, now his games are like 25 minutes, 30 minutes long, so it reduces the amount of offensive production he's facing. Um, but I just think that's simply it. Like, he'll play against Prime, the same game, but just slightly different, and he understands Prime and he tries a little bit more. But versus everybody else, I just think he's going in, playing a game, and trying to get out of there as fast as possible.
Yeah, it does. It does make you wonder how much he's trying when the only guys he seems to beat are the ones he then wants to talk shit to after the fact. If it's if Straw calls him out for not trying, he'll go out and he'll beat Straw. Then he'll have something to say after the game.
Exactly.
But then Tiny comes in and holds him to 6 points. Granted, he still loses. But all right, DW, what do you think though?
I'm going off course here.
Okay.
I think Prime gave his buddy a little reach around here so he could have a narrative to talk about in chat.
Okay. So you think Prime just kind of mailed it in to help further match stick?
Oh yeah, man. More topics on SMLTA. Yeah, it's great. No, I'm just kidding, dude. No, I really do think though. I think that those two probably talked about it. And I do agree with everyone here. Matt doesn't care. He just doesn't care. That's all it comes down to. He loves to troll in chat. He gets off on trolling in chat. He loves it. But Matt does not give a shit about this game. He hasn't cared in 2 cycles now, and we can all tell. We all see it. You can yell at him for not trying. It's exactly right. He just wants to play the show and get done with this. But I really do think that there was something together with those two. Maybe a conspiracy theorist show on that sometime this season or something.
I wonder what the time on that game was. I bet he wasn't under 30 minutes. We'll have to look into that. Maybe that's a good topic. Maybe we will look into that. I'm going to give you 3 bonus points for coming up with possibly our next
Nice.
All right. Final topic. Topic 4. Eddie, we're going to start with you.
Yeah.
Toughest team in the AFC East. Is it you? Is it Trick, DW, or Slice?
I will phrase this in 2 ways. Interdivision, by far it's me. I haven't lost a user game to anyone outside of Slice. Now, Trick has been very close twice, and I've gotten some help by Madden twice against Trick, so I can't give that too much. But also, learn how to dive. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very simple feature in the game. Outside of the division, it can't be me. I probably have the worst record outside of the division over the past 2 seasons. I literally just can't seem to play anyone outside of my division. But I think that I bring probably the toughest defense here outside of the division when playing against anybody else. And now with my quarterback, my offense is just a little bit more diverse, and I can do what I want to do. So I will say overall me, but once it comes to outside of division play, it gets a little bit closer with the rest of the guys.
Yeah, it sounded like you said in the division you, and outside of the division you, but closer.
Me.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. DW, what do you think?
It's definitely Eddie for me, only because Eddie's the only person who I have not beaten in our division this cycle. What's really great though, and I know you wanted us to just shit all over each other here and talk shit on each other, but this is honestly a great division. We all get along great. You see the rivalry, if I could talk, rivalry between both Eddie and Slice. I mean, they go back and forth constantly. It's awesome. Me and Trick go back and forth. We hold down the bottom of the the back of the train or whatever we're on. But these are all great dudes. We all have a lot of fun. It's definitely, if I was to pick one, only because I haven't beat him yet. I've had a couple good games, but it's definitely Eddie for me within the division. Outside of the division, I mean, shit, it could be any of us, really.
All right.
And that's all I got.
All right. So far, 2-0 for Eddie. Trick, you gonna triple down on this, or you got a different answer?
Hell no. I'm the toughest. I'm the baddest, and I'm also the worst. I've blown leads against everyone here. Usually my fault, or maybe I'm just nice. I don't know. But yeah, Brees Hall hates Buffalo. or loves Buffalo. He has two phantom pitches in a game that I was up like, I don't know, 14, 17. I don't remember. It's too long ago. He can't dive, or he can dive, but not kneel. Um, you know, my team overall is the lowest in the division, but I've always played nail biters against everyone here. Um, I had a pretty good streak against Slice, and that's evened up recently. Yeah, I think every one of mine and Eddie's games go down to the wire for the most part. If either one of us kind of pull away, it usually catches up in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, he's gotten the better end until his PlayStation helped me, and I got that free win. And then choked against MMX later that night. I could have kicked a field goal to tie the game and go overtime, and I decided to throw one more, and my quarterback slipped in the rain, and I got sacked with no timeouts. DW, man, we just have great battles. It's always back and forth. I feel like I should beat him every time, but I also respect him and his gameplay. Um, neither one of us play defense when we play, and it's just bombs away. And, we usually have the 45-43 games. So it's fun. No, everyone's tough in their own respect, I feel. But I'm, of course, going to give it to myself, despite the record, because my team sucks the most.
All right, so 2 for Eddie, 1 for Trick. Slice, who's your toughest?
I mean, of course, I'm going to say I'm the toughest. I like Eddie's kind of dividing point of in the division. I think it's a lot closer. I'm still going to say me just because you got to go with yourself. If you can't be your own fan, who else will? I think outside of the division, it's definitely me. But to DW's point, this is a fun division. There's fun chats going down. I think we support each other. But if you're looking at the numbers, I think since I've been here, DW, you've placed fourth every time. Trick has gotten a second place finish, and then pretty much all thirds. Eddie has had 2 division titles, a second place, and of course, a third place season. And then I've been first or second place every season. And the ones I lost, it's because one dude was playing a third place schedule, and one season I gave the entire team a 5-game handicap, basically. You play the games on your schedule. I get that. I can't go back and change any of those games. Prop to the placing everybody gets, but I think it's very clear at top and bottom tier. 1 and 2, or 1A and 1B, I think is always going to be me and Eddie. That gap is closing. But between finishes, playoffs, between looking at common opponents, I think every season but my 6-win season when I looked earlier, any division we've gotten matched up with, I've always had the best record outside of division. So when we play another division and I won 6 games, I'm blaming Jalen Hurts. Now I want him fired in real life because of that season by me. So I'm on that train now. Don't get me started. But yeah, besides that one kind of fluke season, one of my worst CFM seasons ever, any division we collectively play, I've had the best record against. Common opponents, especially these kind of top tier guys or challenging guys, if you will, I tend to be the only one who wins by large margins or wins multiple times. So, for example, guys like KP, Damon, Stavo, Dump, Meats, AJ, these are guys I've beaten fairly easily with Madden's help and sometimes with not. And they're guys I've beaten multiple times where everybody else on this call has lost multiple times or has never beaten them. So looking at kind of those commonalities besides just division play, I think within the division it's tight. Outside our division, I'm going to call myself the toughest opponent. We can look at stats. Roughly on offense, we're all scoring about within 5-10% of each other as far as statistics go. I pulled the numbers for all of our passing, rushing. So it's kind of intriguing seeing how close we are despite different styles. But again, looking at it with nuance, stealing Eddie's in division and out of division, I'm going 1A, 1B for me and Eddie in division. I'm taking the lead. Out of division, I don't think it's a question out of us 4. I'm probably the toughest opponent.
All
Record
right.
speaks for itself.
So by choosing yourself, Eddie is the winner, 2-1. And
Yeah.
So the first and goal toughest
Friendly
in the
show.
AFC
I can't do what I
East
want to do.
is Eddie. I'm surprised. If I was you, I would have said Trick just so it was a tie. But that's gonna go to Eddie. But the winner tonight in tie for third place actually is Eddie and Slice at 68. Trick in second place with 69.95, and DW is the winner with 70 points. DW, these 10 seconds are all yours.
Oh man, I've never won one of these before. I don't even know what to say. Let's see, that was 5 seconds. No, shout out, man. This is awesome. This is a great idea. I think we should get more guys to get on this with their divisions, and this could be like a whole new thing. I mean, this is awesome. So reach out to Bomber, you guys, or reach out to me, DM me, and I'll get you on here. And that's it.
Yeah, definitely reach out to DW. And
Yeah, don't reach out to Bomber. Reach out to me. I scheduled the shit. So
that makes it much easier. All right, guys. Thanks for being on. Thanks for watching. And we'll be back next week.
Thanks for listening to First and Goal. Be sure to check out Mad Bomber TV on Twitch and YouTube for the latest from the SML. And we'll see you next time on First and Goal.